Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about some symptoms, some things you might feel if you are struggling to set boundaries and aren't even aware of it. And before I dive into this, I want you guys to know the reason I'm putting this video together. I have seen so many people who struggle in their relationships, who struggle in the workplace, who struggle in so many different areas of life, and they feel chronic feelings of resentment, frustration. They feel constantly taken advantage of, and it makes them have a chip on their shoulder in life. And they hold grudges and they feel depleted by people easily, and all these different things. And they don't realize a lot of the time that it's not that the world is out to get them. Of course, people can go through hardships and seasons of life where, like, when it rains, it pours, and like it feels like, oh my goodness, there are so many crazy things happening at once. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how literally there's this chronic and pervasive feeling of like it's hard to get ahead and being taken advantage of. Relationships are so difficult. I'm so unseen, unheard, all these different things. And they don't realize that at a deeper level, a huge part of the reason for this is that they have no boundaries. And so I really want to spend some time here, like helping you recognize how to notice that in the first place. And then I'll make a follow up video in a lot of detail about what you can really do about that. Okay. So before I dive in as well, if you want to do a deeper dive into boundaries, I have a full intensive boundaries course, boundary reprogramming, boundary identification processes, boundaries in the 7 areas of life, the 6 different boundary types from financial, mental, or intellectual, emotional, physical, sexual, material, like all these different types that we have. And there's a tremendous amount of support for like exposure response reprogramming, all that stuff. So if you feel like this is something you want to do a deep dive in, there's a coupon code for 25% off the course, or you can use it for the all access membership pass for all courses in the description box below. So the reason I'm bringing this up, as I mentioned, is because literally I've seen so many individuals who feel chronically distressed about life and chronically depleted. So we're going to go through some big symptoms to notice first, okay? And then I'm going to tell you a little bit more deeply about some of these things. So number one, you feel constantly depleted by your interactions. Okay. So you go into, let's say, a get together with family, or you go out with some friends for dinner or whatever it might be. And even though you enjoyed it, you come back feeling like way more drained than you expect. Well, a lot of that can be that you're lacking emotional boundaries. And you are in a dynamic where like you are taking on everybody's emotions around you. You feel this pressure to like make sure everybody feels good, and you're hyper vigilant and taking care of everybody. And it's putting you in like a very intense state of sympathetic nervous system mode, and you're producing a lot of like cortisol, and it's actually draining on your nervous system, and to a certain degree can negatively impact your immune system, but that's a whole other story. So that can be a huge reason why you're feeling that way to begin with. Another huge thing when we're struggling with boundaries is you feel unseen and unheard. And why? Because if I cannot see and hear myself, and I cannot tune into like what my needs are, and then if I do not think that it's appropriate, or I can't trust other people or whatever it might be, if I don't think I can communicate these things to others, then I'm constantly going to be trying to meet everyone else's needs, not sharing my own. I'm constantly going to feel an imbalance in my relationships. I'm going to feel like people don't hear me, like people don't care about me. And I'm going to feel really upset about that a lot of the time, and really down. And then sometimes, I'll feel misunderstood and alone, and all these other things can pop up that are more so related to core wounds at that point, because it's essentially the meaning we give to the boundaryless experience. But it can be a sad process. It can feel like depleting and exhausting and not good. And then another big thing that we can feel is a sense of helplessness, or feel unsafe. And the reason for this is because I want you to imagine what it actually feels like, because you might actually be living this way, to go out into the world, to feel like you have to be, maybe I find there's a correlation between people who struggle with boundaries and people who are also perfectionists. So you go out into the world and you think, okay, I have to be perfect, or I have to take care of everybody around me. I have to make sure everybody is having a good time, is good emotionally, is, organized in their life or whatever it might be that you're caretaking for others. And you may or may not be doing this, but important to note. And because it's going to depend on attachment style and a whole bunch of different things. And it's not, this is a more general video, but still check in with this, or maybe you know somebody like this. So you feel this pressure to go out and like show up for everybody else. And then you never communicate for yourself. And so you feel like people you can't say no to anything. You have to say yes to everything. Well, you're going to feel unsafe and you're going to feel friggin' helpless because you're going to go into your world and your day-to-day experience feeling like people can just take what they want from me, of me emotionally. I have to say yes to everything. You're going to feel unprotected, unsupported, unsafe, and helpless. And that's not a good feeling, right? There's a lot of like complications that come from not having boundaries, and that's another one of them. Another thing is we'll often feel like our needs are not met by others, and we'll feel that imbalance in a relationship, which makes us feel taken advantage of. And then we'll feel this feeling of like, I have to worry all the time because people are trying to take advantage of me. And a lot of the time that I hear that, and I'm not saying that there aren't like advantageous people in the world, of course, like that happens, but advantageous people find boundaryless people to be the best people to take advantage of. So you become a target if you don't have boundaries, and you have to be clear about that and protect yourself from that. And number two, a lot more of the time, it can also be that you're not communicating boundaries, so people don't even realize you feel taken advantage of. They're just used to relating to you in a certain way. They're just used to you always paying for dinner. They're just used to you always being the person who listens to all of their problems, and it doesn't feel like a two-way street. Whatever it might be, a lot of this dynamic tends to be at play, and it's very important to recognize. Okay, so feeling like people don't care about you, feeling unseen, unheard, misunderstood, helpless, unsafe, taken advantage of, resentful in your relationships is a big one as well, again, because conflict is born of a perceived imbalance. And so whenever we have a perceived imbalance, it's like the breeding grounds for conflicts. And of course, we're going to have a perceived imbalance when we are trying to take care of others and then we're not communicating for ourselves. And and then we go through life, and it's very difficult to get ahead, because if your cup is always empty because you're giving it all away, then it's very difficult to get to a point where it's like, okay, I feel empowered, I feel good. And here's the most important thing: if we are boundaryless, we don't get ahead enough to properly be able to give to people. And we start being able to like take ourselves into consideration and advocate for our boundaries, then we start like having more direction and we gain momentum in our lives in a more powerful way. And as a byproduct of that, then a couple years down the line of building all that momentum, you can give more to other people that you care for. And it's not like so for example, it's like you can give somebody $100 from your bank account, but if you only have 1,000, that felt like a lot. If you give $100 from your bank account when you have 100,000 because you built some momentum and you got some things going, and then you don't notice the $100 in the same way. And so you can give in a way that feels more effortless and generous and true, and doesn't feel like it's depleting you. And that's the space we want to be able to give from, whether it's emotionally, whether it's financially, whatever it might be. Very important to note and to take into consideration. So if you find yourself feeling boundaryless, noticing some of these things in your life, noticing that you feel stressed out and that you're taking a lot of things on from other people, and then it's depleting your energy in life and your relationships in life, then you can check out the boundaries course. Again, there's a coupon code below. And I also have a second video coming out with just some like principles that will be really important for you when it comes to setting boundaries, that can take you into sort of the next frame of mind here as it relates to this topic. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're getting a lot of value out of this channel, and I will see you in the next video.